Today on Roll for Insights, I'm sitting down with Duke from One Shot Questers. I'm sure you've heard this guy before, but if you somehow haven't, he puts out regular D&D skits and comedy shorts and soon plans to stream his own D&D game. We discuss the process of writing and creating his skits, as well as talking extensively about how hard it really is to get into the world of streaming tabletop role-playing games. Spoiler, it's not as easy as a lot of people think. Sit back and relax. You are listening to Roll for Insight. Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Roll for Insight. Duke from One Shot Questers, thank you so much for coming onto the show.
Yeah, dude, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Dude, I am happy that you're so excited. This is going to be awesome. So before we get started, we have a tradition here on Roll for Insight, a question we always ask. Duke, what is your D&D pet peeve? It's not something that's going to break up a friendship or a group, but it is something that makes you go, ugh, why'd you do that?
Okay, so it was funny. I actually looked on your videos right before we started the interview just so I can get an idea. And when that question came up, I went, oh, what is my pet peeve? I'm not sure. And I went through a different scenarios, but I pinpoint it to one. And especially now in this day and age with everything going on, my biggest pet peeve is when people lie about their dice rolls. Oh, especially online games. For me personally, and how I've told my players and how I've told people how to run my game, I love letting the dice tell the story. I absolutely love it. I find it so much fun. My viewers have seen me build my my world that I'm currently making for our upcoming D&D sessions, and I just let the dice tell the story, and it's been so much fun. But when someone is very adamant about I want to always succeed, I get just very paranoid, and because it's oh, you're up. Oh, you got to roll? Okay, cool. I'm not even going to, in the back of my mind, I'm like, why bother rolling? Because we all know you're going to succeed. I say this off of a couple of guest streams I've been on, and there was this one person who did not roll less than a 17.
Ever?
And it was yeah, ever. We were in a big final combat. It was insane. We were fighting this dragon, and it was so much fun. But every time it got to this one person, it was nat 20, nat 20, nat 20, 18, nat 20. And it was just oh my gosh, when it's always like that, it gets boring.
There's no fun.
There's no fun. There's no risk. And that's where it's I enjoy the risk. It's when people, I guess what it comes down to, we need to remind people that if you fail, guess what? It's not the end of the world. Your character's not going to die if you fail.
And also, that's part of the game. They purposefully designed the game around the dice with ones on it. That's
exactly.
That's part of the whole point. So recently I hit 10,000 and I made a story, because I'm an RPG Horror Stories channel. I did my story, and one of the big proponents of why I hated this player so much, and I didn't even realize it during the game because I was a brand new DM. This was my first time DMing a full-time campaign, weekly sessions, all of that. And we were playing Curse of Strahd, which is it's a module where, stuff happens. And this guy, first and foremost, I know obviously it's hard to prove if somebody is cheating on dice rolls, because they could be lucky. It's possible.
Right. No, yeah, there's totally the possibility that they're just extremely lucky, but then it just comes down to a time. It's oh, cool, your fifth nat 20 in a row.
Yeah, then it gets a little sus. Yeah, but the way I know that this guy was cheating for definitely was because he was up, because I didn't. When you're a new DM and you've got new players, they don't write down their spells most of the time. So you've got to be you got to remind them. But this guy had all his spells written in a little notebook, and I was so happy. So I didn't bother checking any of his spells. So after the campaign was concluded, and after I removed the guy for other reasons, my friend decided, oh, I'm going to play a sorcerer or a wizard or whatever. He played a character with Scorching Ray. And I realized Scorching Ray doesn't use D8 damage dice.
Oof.
He was upping the damage on all his spells. And also, he never rolled lower than a 15 ever. And he also did that thing, where they roll the dice and then they pick it up right before the DM can be
Yep.
I hate that.
Yeah, I look around the screen. No, it's I find failure so much more fun because as me as a DM and as like a storyteller is what the DM is, it's you in a way, and I feel like this is what a lot of DMs need to do as well, is you need to role play failure as an opportunity for the people to grow. Like Brandon from Dimension 20, he had a very good example of this of when people fail. Like the barbarian is rolling, and he's always failing. But the Brandon said like, oh, you are in such like a crazy rage, like a rage you've never experienced before. And you are just swinging wildly and you keep missing because of that. And he made failing so much more better, and it just really opened my mind. And it also just gives a good opportunity for growth in your D&D characters as well. It's like, oh, you failed this really important thing, cool, well, how are you going to build from that when you get to that final outcome, when you're at that point again, how are you going to build your character to get over that one failure, to achieve something greater than that failure, or greater than what you would have accomplished if you did succeed that role. So that's just me.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right on that, because like when I'm watching streams like Dimension 20, like Critical Role, I mean, a lot of my favorite moments, not just comedic moments, but moments that created great role play, very natural role play, come from low rolls or even player character deaths. Like spoiler. Like Molly dying in campaign 2 was like the best thing that could have happened. I'm just gonna say it. That's the best thing that could have happened to that campaign. It created so many great moments. It would have been better if Ashley was like present, but even without her, the character with the most connection to the character that died, even without her, it was still like really, really well done, and shows that failure, I mean, it can create really cool moments for your campaign.
Exactly. Yeah. So anyway, that's my pet peeve.
Yeah, no, I'm glad that we got like a huge discussion out of it, because sometimes, I mean, I like it when people just say like a pet peeve and we're like, yeah, that's phones at the table. Yeah, that's awful. Yeah, agree. And then you just move on. But I'm glad we got a little discussion out of that.
No, yeah.
So you create tons of skits around Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, you don't upload daily, but you upload a lot. And these skits, they're a minute long. They're all really great. You cover D&D stereotypes. You cover class jokes about the DM, all the good stuff. I am curious. I mean, you make so many of these. How do you come up with each concept? And do you have them all like pre-written out? Do you have like a list? Or is it like day of, let's figure out what we're doing?
Oh, okay, cool. This is first. No one really has asked me about like the process, and I always get excited about it just because I enjoy giving people this information of like what happens behind the scenes. So what happens with me is obviously when I first started out, I've written down ideas that just popped in my head, or the bigger ones would be, okay, what happened in my D&D session that I can kind of put into a skit. And so obviously playing in D&D sessions will really help me with my creative process of what skits I want to make. And I will throw in examples or my personal experiences or my own DM's characters and throw them into the skits, and to have like that more of a connection to the skits. And I find a lot of fun. But my main goal right now on how to keep these skits rolling out as frequently as I can, because I post 3 skits a week. It's insane. I don't know how I can keep it up, but I've been able to post 3 skits a week for the whole year. I don't know how I did it, but I did it, and I'm proud of myself. But right now I am trying to find series to make. So like I have the series of what people think classes are played as versus how they're actually played as. Like I got that series going since the start of the year, and that's been fantastic because that knocks off a spot or a new that knocks off like 15 minutes of me just like sitting down trying to think of what skit
next,
to make.
Yeah.
So me trying to find series is probably the easiest way, because right now I got that one. I got the chaps. Everyone loves the chaps. I got like a whole list of what they do. I got 1st edition versus 5th edition coming out. I got horrible D&D advice. Just these characters that people love, and I just build my skits around them. It's fun. I have a really good time with them.
And your viewers have a good time watching them too, clearly.
Yeah. No, it's amazing. Like there's time. Okay, so behind the scenes stuff, the chaps, everyone, like, I think that is everyone's favorite series. That like hardcore fans, or I shouldn't say hardcore fans, regular fans love the chaps so much. Like they do. The chaps almost didn't happen because I written it out as just me, just sitting down talking with myself. Like I usually always do that. People know. But that one skit, the very first British chaps skit I did, I was in the middle of filming it and I went, what if I just made everyone British? And then I just stopped filming and I went and dressed myself up. I thought of an accent and I went with it. And everyone was like, this is amazing. And I was like, oh, sweet. I hit a gold mine.
Yeah, I mean, that so often is how, like, successful YouTube stuff, like, comes about. It's, like, a complete... I mean, obviously, it's not... You didn't just, like, half-ass it. You know, you write stuff out, you get dressed up, right. You got a nice camera, you know how to level audio. I was talking about this. Like, a lot of people know that a lot of YouTube success is incidental, but it doesn't come from lack of hard work, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It doesn't. It comes from... It honestly just happens on accident. Like, that's how my whole channel... So I laugh because, like, now that you made me think about it, it's like, no, my channel was just found just based off of stupid things I decided to try and do for my content. Like, I got noticed with TikTok... Mainly, like, TikTok is the way I grew the channel, but I found stupid series on there. Should say stupid series, but to me, I find them stupid because it's just like I roll a dice and then I do something physical and that's it. But people loved it and people caught on. And the same thing goes with the chaps video. Is I make a chap video and every time I make one, that's like usually my top growing video out of the last 10 videos on YouTube, just because people know the characters, people know the style, and people just love it, and it happened on accident, and I'm just kind of like, oh, okay, cool.
You bring up, like, an interesting thing on TikTok, because I'm not going to give away too much, because this is my life outside of YouTube, but
you're good.
Recently, part of my work has been looking at TikTok trends, and It's just a whole other universe. I mean, it's crazy.
It is. It really is. It's... some of the trends, it's...
Weird
anyway,
and confusing.
I'm not gonna go down that path. I'm not gonna go down that path because that's just a rant.
Yeah, I mean, we accept rants here. This is an RPG Horror Story channel. What do you think we do here?
I'm going to choose not to this time.
That's fair.
That's okay.
I mean, I chose to keep my part hidden, so that's
that's
totally
good. That's good.
But my big thing with watching your videos is also, like, aside from them being funny, I mean, and, a lot of it is jokes. Like, not every bard has to be horny, but,
right.
There is a lot of educational value, especially with the bad D&D advice. Like, some people really do need to hear that kind of thing.
Right. No, yeah, for sure. And it was really funny because a lot of people, when I made Lord Reginald, and I just made him that just super mean British fancy dude you see on all TV video or movies or things like that. I gave him kind of the British aspect because people really like that, but I also based him off of Ebenezer Scrooge.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of rich, like I hate everyone. I based him off of that, and it actually was really good because a lot of people, when I posted it, a lot of the comments were like, this was actually really good advice because it just shows you, like, oh, I need to do the opposite of what he's saying. And I was like, okay, well, that's good. But now Lord Reginald doesn't like seeing that in the comments. So guess what? He's going to be extra worse in the next video.
I was watching your content, and Lord Reginald really reminded me, and I still cannot remember the name of the show, but one of the actors on the show. Have you seen Are We the Baddies? That whole skit?
No, I haven't.
It's a really there's an old British television comedy, and there's a character that is almost exactly like Reginald, and if I find it, I will pop it into the Discord chat the Discord chat, but I won't find it during this interview because I'm not going to be thinking of it in like 5 minutes. But it is a funny coincidence. Like, that formal character, the formal but mean character, it's a trope that a lot of people really latch onto, especially in comedy.
Oh, I love it so much. I really, really do.
I'm curious, when you're DMing, do any of these tropes, like, carry over into your style as DMing? Like, we've talked to DMs with a variety of different styles. I mean, are you more comedic, or are you more serious when it comes to actually sitting down and playing the game?
Oh, that is a really good question. So I haven't been able to DM for about over a year now, just because of I'm trying to find different ways to stream D&D sessions. But now we're starting it back up. Like I'm gonna be starting DMing again and filming back in January, or when January comes up. But oh man, I have my comedic side, but I also really love my storytelling side. I love to be able to tell a story, if not just like my own story, but I love to be able to tell the stories of my players' characters. I love having the balance of comedy, but I also like having the balance of tragedy and seriousness as well. It fills that other creative side of me, because I'm always making the comedy videos. I'm always making funny jokes, blah, 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 blah. But then there's that side of me that's like, I just want to have like strong emotions happening. I want to feel like I want to cry. I want to feel anger. I want to feel like this when I'm putting in my stories, because it's just I love being happy and laughing and doing my comedy, but I also need to feel these other emotions to appreciate one of the other ones as well. So I guess my style, I don't know. Have you seen the series on Netflix called The Dragon Prince?
Yes.
No, yeah. I want to say that my campaigns have the same feel as The Dragon Prince. You have your comedy that happens, but you also have those really serious moments. And there's the mixture where it's not too overbearingly funny, but it's not too overly bearing dark as well, where it's just like, ooh, I get uncomfy listening to this. So if you're into that kind of style or that mood setting, yeah, my D&D sessions would probably be the right fit for you.
Yeah, and you're apparently going to be streaming them. Is that, yeah, you're looking into streaming?
Yeah. Yes, so we have been trying to stream. So the channel actually started off with being a D&D session stream. So I would go on TikTok and I would build a fan base, and then I'd be like, hey guys, come over and watch our D&D sessions. That's how the channel started off. That's literally, it was a D&D stream channel. Then I started going into more comedy, because that's actually what I wanted to do. And that's been great. That's been fun, but I still want to have my storytelling side. I still want to play with my friends and have a good time. And I want to be able to do that aspect of D&D. That's what makes D&D, is doing our D&D sessions. So I'm currently building a world, and I've been streaming it on Twitch. And what's been really, really cool is my viewers have actually been able to help build this world with me. So when my viewers jump on and they watch the sessions, they have an extra connection to it, because they helped build parts of the world. And when I reference it, I know it's going to be really exciting for them to experience that, because it's like, oh, that was my thing. They just, cool. Like, we're running with it. That's so exciting. Like, I cannot wait for my viewers to have those experiences. And I've been trying as well to kind of reformat how we can look at D&D sessions. This is me personally. Like, this is where I'm going to kind of like say my stuff, but I feel like everyone looks at Critical Role for everything. They look at how Critical Role does everything, and everyone follows what they does. That's totally fine, because that's what happens. The people who make it big, a lot of people try to follow that same thing so they can make it big. But the problem with that is I feel like it just becomes too congested when everyone is trying to do the same thing. And so what I'm trying to do with my channel and my D&D streams is I'm trying to break outside that box where it's more open to new viewers, new people to D&D. It's more open to older players where they could still enjoy it. And it's also kind of in a way where if we're midway into our campaign, we're like 50 episodes in, I want it to still be in a situation where if someone new jumps in and they want to experience it like live with everyone else and experience what everyone else is experiencing, I want them to be able to jump in at a certain point and to be able to catch up with everyone within like 1 or 2 episodes, instead of having to, watch 50 episodes that are 3 to 4 hours long.
This is why I think when they're looking at Critical Role and thinking, yeah, we need to do this, including Wizards of the Coast, by the way. I mean, I love Wizards of the Coast. I respect them a lot. But whenever they host celebrity D&D games, they just don't work nearly as well, because so often what people say when they think, why does Critical Role work? They think money and they think voice acting. I don't think that is nearly summarizing not even close to encapsulating why Critical Role has worked as well as it has. Because I think the main thing is that, I mean, these players are so in tune with one another because they've been doing this and they're best friends and they've been doing this for years. And they're on top of it. They can build interesting dialogue and stories, which is why the show works. It's the relationship between the people who are playing the game.
Yes, exactly. And that is very, very, very important, is the relationships between everyone.
More importantly, it's hard to replicate.
Yes. No, yeah. Okay, that'll actually bring me to what I was going to originally talk about, is Critical Role did a thing that no one else did. And it's amazing. Like, so proud of Critical Role with how they were able to get Dungeons and Dragons more mainstream, and where like D&D is like one of the top things now people will look at when they go on Twitch. It's so cool seeing like Dungeons and Dragons, the small community, is one of the biggest view counts on Twitch at times. It's so freaking cool. I think it's amazing. But the thing with that is no one really, I mean, I shouldn't say that, but there's been channels that have really tried to go out and do their own things, and they have worked. Like Dimension 20 has their own style, has their own things they do. I really like them because they have short-term campaigns that are not very long, and they keep busting out new, fresh ideas, and it's really cool, and I love that. The thing I see a lot, though, is people still look at Critical Role and everyone tries to replicate Critical Role almost to a T. People say that they like, oh, we want to be a D&D channel. We want to stream it on YouTube, or we want to stream it on Twitch and YouTube. And we want to like be big, be amazing, blah, 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 blah. Like, we're going to do this. We're going to stand out from the rest. And it doesn't happen, because when I look on their streams, all I see is the same setup. Nothing. It's just they kind of follow the same thing. And people really have to really think outside of the box on how they got to do it, because a lot of people really just do follow into the trend of following what works. But to me, I just feel like, no, you got to think of something else that'll catch people's attention, because Critical Role already caught that area of attention for people. You need to catch another area of attention for people that will get them interested.
Following what works is usually like a pretty safe bet when it comes to entertainment, but D&D streaming is not the same as like a video game that lasts like, 8 hours. Like, I can beat and have a good time with like a game after like a week. Like, I beat God of War and it was an amazing game, and I beat it in like 2 weeks. If I play Dark Souls immediately after that, even though the gameplay styles are fairly similar, like, I can still have fun. But with Critical Role and other D&D streams, it is a time investment that is way, way longer. Why would I take away time from watching Critical Role, a show that I already like, to watch a show that tries to copy the style and usually doesn't succeed?
A really good example I just thought of with that, it's like you playing a mainstream game and then going to the knockoff versions that are on your handheld.
Yeah.
On your phones.
Like, why would you do it? Like, what's the point?
Right. And I do want to say that I'm not trying to put those other people down who are trying. I do want to say that it's more of, hey, I'm just trying to open up the minds of people. Like, how is your D&D sessions different than what everyone else is doing?
There are things that I think you should take from Critical Role. Like, I think that you should learn that the dynamic between the players at the table is really important. You have to learn that safety tools are good for making sure everyone's comfortable and happy while playing. You should learn about, especially this, marketing your show is important, because
yes.
I think you should. I think you have learned this from streaming on Twitch, but I was talking to a Twitch streamer off camera, and he told me something that I will never forget. You don't get famous on Twitch by streaming on Twitch.
Nope. That is a very big thing. If you're trying to stream on Twitch alone, you will not succeed. Now, this is just creator advice, coming in now.
Now we're just going to creator advice, but it's good advice. People want to do this.
No, yeah, and if you want to, this is like another big pet peeve of mine, is when a lot of my friends come up to me and they're like, "Hey, I want to get famous. I want to do what you do," and I go, "Okay, what are you gonna do?" And they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna stream on Twitch." I'm like, "Okay, great. What you're gonna have to do is you're gonna have to get a YouTube, and you're gonna have to get a TikTok and start posting content about what you do, and you're gonna have to get people out, because that's the best way." And they go, "Oh, but I just want to stream on Twitch and gain my following from that. It's like, and then I literally go, ha ha, good luck. And then they stream for a week and then they stop because no one is
No one's
following
watching
them. And it's, yeah, no one's watching. And it's like, if you are not willing to put in the extra work to get famous, like, it is insane how much work I put on behind the camera. Like, people do not know what I am doing. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, he just sits in front of a camera and he acts goofy and then he posts it on YouTube or Twitch. It's like, no, I am writing these sketches. I am then having to set up my lights, have to set up the set, having to constantly get in and out of costumes. Then after that, take the footage, put it into my computer, upload it, start to chop the film up, getting the right takes, finding the right music, putting it all together, and then uploading it to YouTube with a thumbnail, a title, putting the tags in, yada, 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 responding to comments. And then on top of that is working on the channel, working on bigger projects. Like, I got like a ton of projects that are happening in the future, January, that I haven't been able to say anything because I need to wait for OKs, but like, I'm so constantly busy, and if people want to get in this business, they have to put in the work.
But yeah, aside from that fun topic of discussion, so you...
This is about a D&D, this is a D&D interview, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, hey, look, when I talked to Crit Crab, we talked about Red Dead Redemption and God of War and World of Warcraft for 20 minutes. That has nothing to do with D&D at all.
Oh, yeah.
It's not even tangentially connected. So this is a rambly show, okay? These things, they happen.
I love it.
But so you mentioned that you want to stream. This is how we got here. You mentioned that you want to stream D&D. So yeah. You are building, you're building up a new campaign. Oh man, you're building up a new campaign to have your players experience a new adventure. So when you sit down to start prepping a campaign, what does your creative process look like? I constantly ask this question because everyone answers something different and all methods can be learned from. So when you're sitting down, brand new, like, do you take inspiration from modules, television shows? Like, what are you doing when you're building up a new adventure for your players?
That's a good question. So it will change almost every time because I'm still learning what works for me. But from what I have been doing from the start is I always make the map first. I think that's the same process that Tolkien did with Lord of the Rings. Was he made the map and then he built the story around the map. And I was like, oh, I love that idea. And so I made my map and then I started to build the story around the map. And it was so much better than what I would originally have in my mind. I start to create the world and I start to create the map and I go, oh, this is so much better than my original idea that I have. And so I'll do that. And then I'll start to put in like the settlements, and then I'll start to build stories around the towns and the kingdoms and what's going on there. And then I will ask my players, hey guys, here's the area. Here is like the regions that you need to know about. Here's what's happening here. Here are the towns and the descriptions. Place your character in there. Tell me what your character's been doing. Then they'll say what the character's been doing. I'll get their feedback, and then I will implement their stories into the campaign. And that just fully fleshes out everything else. Is once I get kind of like the basic details, then I can go into the advanced details. So pretty much goes map, settlements, what my players' characters are, their backgrounds, and then I put in the small final touches.
So do you make the map by hand drawing it, or do you go into like Incarnate and generate it? I've talked to WASD20. He hand draws, and I create the maps in like Incarnate because I cannot art. But I'm curious, which one do you go to?
So I actually take a handful of dice and I get a whiteboard and I drop my dice on the whiteboard and then I sketch out what my dice did. And so it could be like, oh, here's a big glob. This is a big region. Oh, there's like 7 different dice over to the left. I'm going to make those 7 different islands. And so I'll do that. And then I'll go into Incarnate and I will then put the map I see on my whiteboard and put it into Incarnate. And then I just kind of stop and I look at it and I go, okay, what is this going to turn into?
Where are we going with this? Yeah, I really like that. So when you're creating the adventure itself, like the story that your players are going through, like how does the map influence like what your putting your players through? Like, do you pick like a random location? And by the way, it's really cool that you use the dice to create the maps, because you were saying earlier that you like it when the dice decide the story, and now you let the dice decide your world too. I think that is really, really neat. But,
it's fun. It's really fun.
But yeah, I am curious, like, where does the actual quest lines come from on your map, or do you just try to like, freelance it from where your players want to go?
What I'm doing with this campaign is I thought of a general story, like the big overarching story that is going to be happening with the campaign. I thought of that and I created a basic outline for it. Like, this is what happened. This is the history. This is what's going on. This is where the world is trying to go to. Like, I look at it as this is what the world is trying to do. Not what my players are trying to do. It's like, this is what the world is trying to do. So wherever they go, it's going to be, oh, have you heard about this? This is what's going on. And it's up to my players if they want to follow it. Like, they're the players. I have things ready for them with whatever they want to do. I have events up and written. I have the locations and quests that they can go do. But what I'm trying to do, like, this is the module I'm trying to go with having to try to branch out from what everyone else is trying to do with D&D streams, is I'm trying to make the best way I could put it is you have a book, and if you open up the book, every chapter tells a different story, but the book still has like a story within all these short stories. So like every chapter is a brand new story, and if someone watched the very first session and then they couldn't watch any of the other sessions because life happened, they could jump in at chapter 5. And guess what? It's a brand new story that's starting to happen. They can jump in. Yeah, you're going to miss out on like character development, things like that. But hey, if you're just there to figure out a story and to be told a brand new story and be caught up with everyone else, you can easily do that. That's how I'm trying to plan mine, is to have long-term viewers be able to enjoy a long-term story and also all these short-term stories, but also newer people, if they find the session that's like 50 sessions, we're 50 sessions in, they can jump in at the first chapter 8. If we're starting chapter 8, they can jump in and they can watch it with everyone else and be caught up with everyone else. And so that's how I'm trying to work my things in, and how I'm working on the storytelling and how that's going to work is I will mostly try to focus it either around one specific event or region, or it will focus solely on a character and diving into their backstory.
Yeah, that's really interesting, though, that you take the audience into account while you're writing these D&D sessions, because a lot of DMs, they just need to think of the players. But you need to take a little bit of a broader point of view when thinking about the audience. Yeah.
I really try to think of it because we're not just doing a D&D game. We're putting on a performance. And we got to realize that people are watching us, and to be able to gain more followers and to gain more of a fan base, you need it to be accessible for people to be able to jump in and to enjoy it. And I think one of the exciting things about D&D sessions is when you're watching it live with all of your friends and being able to talk about it and be able to talk about other people who are fans of the show and be able to be like, oh, did you like latest episode? Can you believe this happened? Like, it's super cool. And so like, I do think of my players. Like I think of my players a lot.
Yeah. That's first priority. Of course.
That's first priority. But when I'm doing a D&D stream, I also got to think of the viewers. I'm like, okay, how am I going to make this easier for the players or the viewers
to understand? Yeah, because that is again, love Critical Role, but that's my main criticism when it comes to their show. Like, there's so much, and I think them taking the last Thursday off of every month is a pretty good way to help people get caught up. That's a good way. But I also think I don't know how I would really fix this without maybe sacrificing story elements. But yeah, that is a brilliant way to fix the problem of needing to catch up. It's the Clone Wars solution. If you've seen that show, Star Wars: The Clone Wars, with all the different story arcs, like, you can jump in at any time and understand what's happening without character. Now, there are going to be story arcs that have less impact because you haven't seen the previous episodes. That's just natural. But I mean, if you jump into Star Wars: The Clone Wars in the middle of season 4, I mean, for the most part, there is no problem. You can just watch the show.
No, yeah, for sure. And that's how I want to build it. And if you don't mind, I'm going to go into just a little bit of things about streaming with D&D.
No, go,
talking
man,
about it a lot. All right, cool. And this, if you jump on my streams, or if you're a fan of me and you've seen me on Twitch, you already know what's coming. But if you are a group of friends and if you are a part of this group of friends and you're listening to this and you are thinking, hey, me and my group, our sessions are awesome, we're funny, I think we could do this, I think we could stream, I personally am going to tell you not to do it. Because of many different reasons, but the main reason is because I want you to keep your friendship intact. I want you to keep your D&D friend group intact. I have seen so many of content creators that I've seen, and also even some patrons that I've seen on my Discord channel. They will start a D&D session, and things will fall out because they started with a group of friends. But guess what? When you were playing D&D just as friends, there was no commitment. There's a commitment, but there was no stress behind it. You were just jumping in to have some fun, be able to do things, and just to laugh and forget about forget about everything that's happening in your life. You just want to be with your friends and laugh. But when you put it on stream for other people to watch, there is a different feel to it. You are now trying to make an audience enjoy your stuff. You're trying to make it a D&D session where other people will want to join, and it gets really, really hard because when you join in, you'll have you may be able to advertise it well at first, and you may have a few, maybe you may be able to hit in the double digits, and you think, oh, a lot of people are really interested. That's really cool. Guess what? Next stream, you're going to drop those numbers really, really fast. And what it's going to do is it's going to affect you internally, more of your mentality, because it's like, oh, what's happened? What happened to these viewers? Why aren't they around anymore? And I like to call it the God complex, when players or DMs try to do something that makes people go, oh my gosh, did that just really happen? That gets into mostly the DM's mind so much that they try to do an OMG moment, but it winds up hurting a character or hurting the players. And when that happens, it starts to create this tension between your players, because you're doing things that you normally wouldn't in your own little D&D session. You were trying to do things to make your D&D stream more appealing, and you're trying to get those numbers up. You're trying to make sure people are enjoying it. And I've just seen it destroy friendships. You got to know that what you're getting into is a time commitment. And if you're going to go into a D&D stream, it's not just a D&D stream anymore. It's an entertainment for other people. And you got to make sure your players are in for it. And if you still want to do it, guess what? Reach out to people online who want to do the same exact thing. Because if you do that, your group is going to stay. Because that's the way my group has been. I did not ask any of my original D&D players to really be on this. I have another D&D campaign that I'm in, and I didn't ask any of them because I wanted to keep them separate from what I'm doing.
Good move.
But I've asked and I asked friends who are performers who love doing stuff like this, and I go, hey, I'm doing a online D&D session. Do you want to be one of my players and to be someone who will be entertaining people, blah, 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 blah. And they have said yes, and they've understood the process. They understand the time commitment. They are already in that mindset. When things happen or things change, they understand more of it. So if you're wanting to get into a D&D stream, you got to know what you're getting yourself into. Yeah. And you got to literally think to yourself, is this worth losing my group over?
Yeah.
Because I could guarantee you, if it fails or if contention happens, your D&D group's not going to be the same.
I was listening to, and I still can't find it. I've been looking for the stream that Jenny D did, and it was so good. She answered a question about how do you start with content creation, and she gave this very blunt advice that I absolutely loved, and I think everyone needs to hear, and it's that as a content creator, you are not entitled to anybody's attention. You need to actually work to get noticed, and that work requires a lot out of you. And when you're doing a D&D stream, you need to set the expectation that everyone's going to show up for that stream. Streaming D&D is not just D&D with cameras. We've talked about this. Streaming D&D is not just D&D with cameras. It takes a lot of commitment, like you said. And a lot of groups think oh, we're just going to put it out there. But that's not really how it works. Again, you need to actually stand out if you want this to actually be something that's worth your time. And I'm not saying, again, like you said, we're not trying to say don't stream D&D. If you want to do it, do it. But just know what you're getting into and make sure your entire group is 100% on board. Like Matt Colville, who's like one of my favorite D&D creators, he stopped doing the chain because his group, they were no longer on board. And he was like, guys, you know what? If you're not on board, we'll stop. And he just stopped.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I'm glad he was able to see that.
Yeah, he's awesome. And I mean, I think that, like you said, you know, if you want to go and stream D&D, awesome. But just know, like, what you're getting into. But before we end off, we've been talking about D&D streaming a lot. I mean, do you have one last piece of advice that you haven't said already that you think people need to know before they put themselves out there? Because we've been talking to D&D content creators and people who want to do this a lot on this stream. But do you have any just final advice, any like last encouragements, whatever you want to say? Go ahead.
I think the big one that people really need to hear, and it's always something that you need to constantly remind yourself, is if you really want to be out there and you want to be a content creator, you have to know that not everyone is going to like your content. You got to prepare yourself that people are going to try to tear you apart. You got to know that people are going to pull their insecurities onto you and make it seem like you're not living up to their expectations and things like that. You got to prepare yourself that people are just going to straight up not like you. Like that's how it happens with me. I'm a D&D meme person, and it's crazy when I will make comments about someone's favorite character, or I'll kind of poke fun at them. I poke fun at my own my classmates that I do all the time. I poke fun at the Ranger all the time. One of my favorite classes to play, but I know the meme behind it and I know why people don't like it, but I'm still going to poke fun at it because I still can laugh at it, type of a thing. You have to know that you don't also have to please everyone. You got to find the audience that are going to love and respect you for what you do. And I've been able to find it, and you will also find those people who will try to force you to change your content for them. Don't do that. Again, you're not entitled to anyone. You are not entitled to, this is going to sound a little bit weird, but you're not entitled to any of your viewers either. You're just posting content out, and it's up to your viewers if they want to watch your stuff. Like, that's literally it. But just know that if you're wanting to really put yourself out there, you need to think of the other things besides the good that could come from it.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, thank you so much for coming onto the show. There's one last thing to ask.
Okay.
Duke, what have you got going on this week?
This week, I am still trying to get my D&D sessions done. We're getting them in January. I'm excited. In the process of making a DD plushie. It's the plushie of the mascot of the channel. Everyone loves her, and we're in the process of that, and that's been insane. I'm in the process of making brand new merch. It's a lot. I'm tired, man. I want Christmas to get here so I can sleep.
Same here, man. Same here. Yeah, man. Well, I wish you luck in all of your future endeavors to come. If you guys enjoyed this episode of Roll for Insight and you want to let me know, then please do leave a like. If you want to see more of my content, then please do subscribe to Crispy's Tavern, as well as subscribe to One Shot Questers. The channel's in the description down below. They make awesome content. Check it out. And finally, if you want to leave your own tips or thoughts, go down to the comments down below. If you can't think of a comment, leave the comment for the content to let me know you made it to the end of the video. In essence, like, comment, subscribe. We will both see you all next time. Farewell.